What do you do if you don't know where to start? First steps, where do we go?
Yeah, so I think, the first step always is focus in on what I'll call small achievable wins, right? I almost think of it like we all didn't start riding a bike and all of a sudden, get on a 10 speed and do a 30-mile bike ride, right? We had training wheels and we went out in the park and we had a nice little grassed area. At least I did, and I fell over a lot of times. And that's okay, right? Because that's how you learn. So from an automation standpoint, start with a small process that as you look at it, you can find that there's a good benefit to it, right? But will help you from a momentum standpoint to build in your automation journey, right? And it's critical to focus in on those areas where you know that there will be a benefit. So sit back and take a look at what the ROI components are that best apply to your organization and find the ones that are in the sweet spot, because that's going to help you really get off to a good start. Balaji, what do you see around the robotics and really the focal point around how to focus in on these areas and where there are benefits and how to start?
Yeah, Dom, I think all of these lessons that you're looking at are really great practices, and really good recommended best practices, I would say, for robotics. But if I have to really pick the top two, I would say bringing the right use case is going to be key. You talked about process mapping. You want to really draw a line between what you're trying to automate. Is it a data automation problem versus a process automation problem? And that distinction is going to be key for success, because we have heard the horror stories from clients who have gone down the path of trying to automate a bot or trying to automate a process which was not necessarily a challenge for a bot. It was more relating to actually the data manipulation and could have been done at a fraction of cost, right? The second big takeaway I would say is that if you have a good use case and you can automate only 80% of it, go for it, right? Because if the last 20% is tough, most likely it's not even a good use case for a bot, right? And you may need something a little bit more advanced, like AI or machine learning. And the fact that you've been able to automate 80% actually sets you up better for success when you try to bring in and onboard some of these other technologies.
To take our example all the way through the webcast today, we've been talking about tax notices a lot and how AI and robotics and others can be used for tax notices. As we're talking through the ethics here, and I'm thinking through the decision tree of how we would train AI to read notices, I could see it being a very interesting conundrum of, well, from this jurisdiction, we always dispute the notice. But from this other jurisdiction, we never dispute the notice. So making sure that your company's risk profile is appropriately reflected and the outputs of the AI that you're using can create some very important decision trees and some very important discussions that your entire company should have, your tax department should have, before you set this AI loose in the wild.
Yeah, right. That's another great example of different ways of defining even accuracy for a model, right? Do you want accuracy to be it mimics what you've done before for your company, or accuracy in terms of here's the different notices that should be disputed or not, right? And which ones were valid or not, so there's different ways. And again, to me, the most interesting piece of this, or the most important piece of this really, is how are you transparent to say, here is what we trained this model on, we optimized for this aspect. And that way, when you're defending that, or you're choosing which one to use in different applications, you know how to make that right choice and selection. And then the final piece, Margie, I was going to mention is just under control. A lot of times we think about how do you build and train these models, but these models change over time. Data drifts and is different. We have different trends within our company and the economy and our our clients and customers, et cetera. So be sure you're thinking up front, how are we going to monitor these models and their performance over time to make sure that they remain accurate, they don't introduce new biases or fairness issues later on, that we maintain any new regulations that come out. So you have to be thinking about that up front. If you do that right out of the gate, you'll be in a lot better position than if you charge off trying to build a model and then later think about some of these really important critical issues.